Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most powerful tools sociologists have for peering past our everyday assumptions and showing us the hidden forces that are really shaping our world. We're talking about the social experiment. Okay, so let's just dive right in with a question that seems pretty simple on the surface, but has some really deep implications. When you're out there applying for a job, how much does your name actually matter? So, this wasn't just some random thought experiment. A couple of researchers, Marianne Bertrand and Sendel Mullainathan, they really wanted to know if racial bias was a real, measurable thing in the hiring process. So, they designed this incredibly elegant experiment to find out. Here's what they did, and it's pretty brilliant. They created thousands of identical resumes and sent them out for jobs all over Boston and Chicago. The only thing they changed was the name at the top. Some got what you might call white-sounding names, like Emily or Greg, while others got African-American sounding names, like Lakeisha and Jamal. And the result? It's pretty staggering. The resumes with white-sounding names got 50% more callbacks for interviews. And what's so powerful here, the reason this study made such waves, is the certainty of it. That 50% gap, you couldn't explain it away by saying, oh, it was their education or their experience or their skills, because all of that was identical. The only thing that could have caused it was the name. So how could they be so absolutely sure? Well, the answer comes down to the power of the experimental method itself. In sociology, and really in a lot of sciences, it's considered the gold standard. It's how you move beyond just seeing that two things are related and actually prove that one thing causes another. At its heart, an experiment is really just a super controlled way to test an if-then hypothesis. You know, if I change this one thing, then what happens to the outcome? It's a way of asking these very specific questions to get incredibly clear answers. And this is the basic blueprint, the structure that makes it all work. You manipulate one thing, that's your independent variable, the cause. You measure what happens as a result, that's the dependent variable, the effect. And you use a control group and random assignment to make sure that nothing else, absolutely nothing, is messing with your results. So with that framework in mind, let's circle back to our resume problem and see what this method actually reveals about hidden bias out in the real world. All right, so here are the cold, hard numbers. The name on the resume, that was the independent variable. The callback rate, your dependent variable. And the result was this stark 3.2 percentage point difference. To put that in perspective, for every 10 resumes an Emily sent out, she got one call. But a Lakeisha, she had to send out 15 just to get that same one call back. And you know what? The story doesn't even stop there. Another experiment took this whole idea and pushed it even further. A sociologist named Diva Pager, she did what's called a field experiment, which basically means taking the lab out into the real world. Instead of just resumes, she sent carefully matched actors to apply for low-wage jobs in New York City. And what she found, it is just a stunning illustration of how powerful this method is. Look at these results. A white applicant with a totally clean record gets a callback about 31% of the time. But a black applicant with an identical clean record, only 15%. And here's the real kicker. A white applicant with a criminal record was still more likely to get a callback than a black applicant with a completely clean slate. Just let that sink in. So you can see how amazing these tools are for uncovering bias. But they can also reveal some really profound and honestly sometimes uncomfortable truths about the fundamentals of human nature itself. Which brings us to this huge question. Are we really in control, or does the situation we're in have way more power over us than we think? Back in the early 1960s, a psychologist at Yale named Stanley Milgram was just haunted by this idea, especially after hearing Nazi war criminals defend themselves by saying they were just following orders. So he designed an experiment to find out just how far would ordinary people go. The setup was deceptively simple. Volunteers came in and were told they were teachers in a memory study. Their job was to give an electric shock to a learner in another room for every wrong answer. And with each mistake, an experimenter in a lab coat would order them to increase the voltage. Now, of course, the learner wasn't really being shocked, but the teachers didn't know that. All they heard were these recorded screams, pleas to stop, and then just silence. And despite all that, a mind-blowing 65% of participants obeyed the authority figure and went all the way to the maximum 450-volt shock, which was labeled simply XXX. Yeah, as you can probably imagine, experiments like Milgram's and another really famous one, the Stanford prison experiment, where students became sadistic guards, well, they caused immense psychological distress. And this led to a really critical moment of reckoning in the field. The real trauma that people went through in these studies was a huge wake-up call. It forced the entire scientific community to confront this fact. The search for knowledge cannot come at the cost of human well-being. A complete revolution in research ethics was needed. And this led to a new framework that guides all research today. It's known as the Belmont Report, and it establishes 3 core principles. You have to respect people's autonomy, you have to do no harm, and you have to be fair. And these aren't just suggestions. They're enforced by ethics committees called Institutional Review Boards, or IRBs, that have to approve every single study before it can begin. So when you look at all of this, from the resumes to the electric shocks, it's pretty clear that these experiments are way more than just academic exercises. They have profound, real-world consequences for how we understand and organize our society. I mean, they provide the hard evidence needed to actually make policy changes. For example, a massive experiment called Moving to Opportunity proved that simply helping a family move to a better neighborhood could dramatically improve their children's long-term success. These studies force us to confront our assumptions and give us the tools to build a better society by getting at the root causes of our problems. Ultimately, the social experiment is like this unique kind of lens. It lets us isolate all the hidden variables, test our deepest beliefs, and actually see the invisible architecture that governs so much of our daily lives. And it leaves us with this powerful, lingering question. If a simple experiment can reveal this much, what other hidden forces are out there shaping our world right now?